been 7 hours and 15 days since you took your love away. I go out every night and sleep all day since you took your love away. Since you've been gone, I can do whatever I want. I can see whomever I choose. I can eat my dinner in a fancy restaurant, but nothing, I said nothing can take away these blues.
Does it ever make you wonder what's on my mind?
was only ever running back to your side. I never cried, I just watched my life go by. It's just a pack of lies, 'cause you're leaving me behind. Why? After this long, is there nothing I'll keep? Oh, I can shout, you'll pretend you're falling asleep. I live a lie, yeah, believing that you're mine. It's just a waste of time, 'cause you're leaving me behind. Hey, there's not a cloud in the sky, it's as blue as your goodbye. And I thought that it would rain on a day like today. Hey, there's not a cloud in sight, it's as blue as your blue goodbye. And I thought that it would rain the day you went away. Does it ever make you wonder what's on my mind? Ooh, yeah. I was only ever running back to your side. Hey, there's not a cloud in the sky, it's as blue as your goodbye. And I thought that it would rain on a day like today. Hey, there's not a cloud in sight, it's as blue as your blue goodbye. And I thought that it would rain the day you went away. And the aeroplanes, with some groceries and a sleeping bag.
Oi, Dad.
Oi, what? Hey!
Dad, it's a video.
It's important they're supervised by a responsible adult.
Oh.
Your name. Yeah, you need to name him. Pick him up. It's a him too. Hello.
Abby, your fat bum's in the way.
Hello, little man.
What do you think? He's your little boy.
We're all going on a summer holiday.
What have you got, Dad?
My drone.
And?
My walking stick.
What a beautiful way to start our proceedings this morning. Don't think of him as gone away. His journey's just begun. Life holds many facets. This earth is only one. Just think of him as resting from the sickness and the fears in a place of warmth and comfort where there are no days or years. Think how he must be wishing that we could know today how nothing but our sadness can really pass away. And think of him as living in the hearts of those he touched. For nothing loved is ever lost, and he was loved so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gathered today in remembrance of a special person in our lives, Simon Barry Morris, a man with a wicked sense of humour who courageously fought illness for most of his life and is described as an all-round great bloke. On behalf of his forever soulmate Kim, daughters Chelsea and Abby, Abby's partner Reed, stepchildren and their partners Gemma, Kyle and Michelle, Kieran and Kimberly, Kayla and Josh, his parents Barry and Marion, brothers Dean and Adam and Sandy and their families, and his faithful pooch Peppy. I welcome you and thank you for being with them today to celebrate Simon's life and to say goodbye to him in a meaningful and loving way. I also welcome all those unable to be with us who are viewing online today, especially family members on the mainland. During this service, we will highlight aspects of Simon's life, retell some stories, and bid him a fitting farewell. The family warmly invites you to join them here after the service for refreshments and to share your memories of this wonderful man. They would also like to offer their sincere thanks to the staff of the renal unit in Burnie, especially nurses Jen, Elsa, Pat and Carolyn, for their wonderful care and sense of fun when working with Simon. Thanks also to Michael Palmer for your mateship and the opportunity to work together for so many years. To Simon's dad, Barry, you gave the greatest gift to your son, and without that gift, Simon's legacy to the world would never have been created. This funeral service has many purposes. Of course, it is for the reverent farewell of Simon, but it also recognises and acknowledges the value of his life to those who knew him. It confirms that life has ended and helps those remaining to face the reality of his passing. Right now, you might be feeling many emotions ranging from sadness, grief, Maybe relief and gratefulness that his long-time suffering is over. There may be a sense of profound loss. No philosophy or religion can prevent these wholly natural reactions of the human heart. In your sadness, it is important to remember that grief is a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness, nor a lack of faith. It is the price of love. Grief is not a disorder or a disease. It is an emotional, physical, and spiritual necessity, the price you pay for love. The only cure for grief is to grieve. It will be the little things that you remember, some of what we saw on the video clips, the quiet moments and those smiles, the laughter. And although it might seem hard right now, it will be the memories of those little things that help you push away the pain and bring your smiles back again. It is hard to forget someone who gave us so much to remember. Simon was a man who loved life, particularly when he found his true love, Kim. His love for the comedians Michael McIntyre, Jimmy Carr and Mr Bean, and the dedication he had to the North Melbourne Footy Club are legendary, but nothing surpassed the love he had for his family. Strong, loving and caring, persistent and courageous, an excellent problem solver and handyman. Simon was an inspiration to all who knew him, telling all who would listen to live life to its fullest, take nothing for granted, and cherish your good health. A hard-working, determined and stoic man, Simon passed away peacefully on Friday the 1st of December with his loving family by his side. His brothers Dean and Adam will now present his eulogy. Thank you. You all right? Oh, that's
Simon will always be our baby bro. His life started in a small country town of Avoca in Victoria. It was a loving home, and his mum and dad worked hard to provide a comfortable life. There was no waste in our home. We had to wait ages to get a coloured TV. For Dad said the black and white one still works just fine. Simon loved playing outside. Mum would watch him out the kitchen window, riding his skateboard up and down the path for hours. When Simon was 6 years old, we moved out to the sheep farm at Bung Pong, 5 kilometres down the road. We would joke that the place was that small that the name was written on both sides of the signpost. He was very well looked after, and Mum's roast dinners and pavlova. He enjoyed sport and athletics. At school in grade 6, he was made the captain of the Black House. They finished with the most points that year, and Simon accepted the inaugural shield. He loved farm life, and helping out was the norm for us boys. The spring holidays was a time for marking lambs, where we tagged the lamb's ears and deprived them of their tails and their testicles. After the work was done, a kick of the footy in the paddock with Dad was our reward. We were all in awe of his drop kick. Summer school holidays was time for carting in the hay. With the help of our cousins Ashley and Ross, the hot sweaty work was always fun, and we would have some great laughs. Simon's great ethic grew from these days. One time when we were riding on top of the load of hay, we had to jump onto the roof of the shed so that we wouldn't get knocked off. There was no occupation, health and safety in them days. On the farm, Simon learnt to drive at a young age so he could help feed out hay and oats to the sheep. We also had an old station wagon as a paddock bomb. We put an old mattress in the back so we could all pile in with our friends and cousins. After getting the old wagon up on two wheels, we quickly learnt not to sit on the same side. We had motorbikes to help round up the sheep, and Simon loved riding over the creek banks and finding mounds of dirt to use as jumps. Spotlighting for rabbits was another activity Simon enjoyed. Being the younger, he sometimes had to pester us to come along. One time he fell off the back of the ute and broke the rifle. The noise it made scared us all. We thought he'd been shot. He picked himself up and said, "Not shot, winded." When Simon was 14 years old, the farm was badly damaged by bushfires. Kilometres of fencing and most of the stock were lost. There were some gruesome sights, but farm life seems to breed tough and resilient people. These were definitely some of the traits that Simon would need in his battles ahead. Simon loved it when our friends the McPhersons visited with their boat. He learnt to water ski, and we had many days on the lake having a great time. We would take our dinner to stay late to make the most of the still water in the late afternoon. When Simon was 20, we all pitched in and bought our boat called Ellie Mae. It was always a competition between us to be the best, with the jump start from the shore being the ultimate goal. And yes, he did manage to pull the jump start off a few times. The day wasn't complete without stopping on the way home for ice creams.
Simon loved our family holidays. We started off with the annual beach holidays to Queenscliff. The only vehicle we had powerful enough to tow the caravan was the farm ute. There were no twin cab utes back then, so the whole family had to pile into the bench seat. Simon, being the youngest and the smallest, had to lie on the back windowsill. There can't have been too many police around in those days. There were lots of holidays to Tasmania to visit family. On one trip, Simon ran into an open porthole window on the ship, so the first stop was in Devonport to the doctors to stitch him up. There were holidays in New Zealand and the Gold Coast, but his favourites were the four-wheel drive camping trips through Central Australia. He loved the adventure of being remote, setting up camp and having a campfire every night. In his early working life, Simon headed for Alice Springs to work on a tourist homestead. It was a place where you had to be a jack of all trades, which he loved. Simon's uniform was an Akubra hat, moleskins and boots, which suited him just fine. It was here that Simon and Jenny met, and their romance blossomed. They later married and settled in Wynyard. Simon loved to play golf, and he had a natural talent. After using Dad's hand-me-down clubs for a while, he was so excited when he brought his own clubs. When he showed them to us, he had put them in his bed and said he loved them so much he was going to sleep with them. A few years later, he had to give up golf as his health conditions took their toll on his eyesight. At the young age of 26, Simon's life hit a massive hurdle. One that he would have to contend with for the rest of his life. After falling gravely ill, he was diagnosed with renal failure and put on dialysis 3 days a week to keep him alive. This period is one of countless times Simon had to dig deep and fight. He never complained, and his character and strength made us all so proud. Through the miracles of medicine, the expertise of some incredible doctors and nurses, and the selflessness of our dad, Simon received a live kidney transplant. Simon's life returned to some normality, and he was able to start a family. His 2 beautiful and loving daughters, Chelsea and Abby, were born. Simon had a love for the land and spent a large part of his working life in viticulture and dairying. He worked tirelessly to build his own dairy herd. He loved his family and tried hard to provide them with a stable and secure life. Many of us loved coming to Tasmania to spend time with Simon and his family on the farm. He enjoyed being on the dairy farm, but the hours were very tiring. He would often fall asleep in the lounge chair, and everyone in the room would laugh at the noises he made in his sleep. Dairying is a demanding livelihood, and the people in it have a high divorce rate. Unfortunately, Simon's marriage with Jenny also ended. When his donor kidney began to fail 16 years after the transplant, the struggle for survival took control of his life once again. While waiting for a kidney donor, Simon decided to dialyse every night at home instead of 3 times a week in the hospital to help keep him working. Unfortunately, the one time that a kidney did become available for Simon, he was too ill and he missed that opportunity. He just couldn't catch a break. Back on dialysis, Simon's life was the scariest of all roller coasters. At one of his lowest points, he also had a battle with cancer. He was in and out of hospital regularly. One of the highest points, however, was when he met his soulmate Kim. We'll be forever grateful to Kim for sharing his life and for creating a beautiful blended family with him. She also provided the incredible love and support that helped Simon to get through the low times. Simon realised that without his girls, he would not have had the strength to fight for as long as he did, and we are all grateful for the years we had with him. He was the mightiest of Morrises.
Whenever I rang Simon, he would say, "Hello there, what do you want?" And then we'd start talking about anything and everything, and we most probably spent the whole phone call laughing. That's what I'm going to miss the most of all. The good times we had together and those phone calls. I love you, bro, more than I ever probably told you. I'm going to miss you. Rest in peace. You deserve it.
Simon was a no-nonsense kind of guy. There was nothing fake about him. People that met Simon soon learnt that he was someone that could be trusted and relied on and was fun to be around. He will be sadly missed and will leave a gaping hole in my life. Simon and I worked together in Alice Springs for a number of years and developed a very strong bond. I know Simon would do everything he possibly could to stay in this world with us all, but the time had come for his battle to end. There was nothing more he could do. He has left nothing on the field, and I am so proud of him. I love you, brother. Rest in peace.
Thank you. Well done. We now have the privilege to look at the first set of photographs that the family have collected from their albums that depict early aspects of Simon's life.
And a trifle untrue, but I can't help it, I'm a romantic fool. It's a habit of mine to watch the sun go down. On Echo Beach, I watch the sun go down. From 9 to 5 I have to spend my time at work. My job is very boring, I'm an office clerk. The only thing that helps me pass the time away is knowing I'll be back at Echo Beach someday.
say, oh my God, I see the way you shine. Take your hand, my dear, and place them both in mine. You know you stopped me dead while I was passing by. And now I beg to see you dance just one more time. Ooh, I see you every time. And oh my, I like your style. You make me wanna cry. And now I beg to see you dance just one more time. So they say, dance for me, dance for me, dance for me, oh. I never seen anybody do the things you do before. They say, move for me, move for me, move for me, eh, eh. And when you're done, I'll make you do it all again. I said, oh my God, I see you walking by. Take my hands, my dear, and look me in my eyes. Just like a monkey, I've been dancing my whole life. But you just beg to see me dance just one more time. Ooh, I see you every time. And oh my, I like your style. You make me wanna cry. And now I beg to see you dance just one more time. So they say, dance for me, dance for me, dance for me, oh, oh. I never seen anybody do the things you do before. They say, move for me, move for me, move for me, eh, eh. And when you're done, I'll make you do it all again. They say, dance for me, dance for me, dance for me, oh, 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 oh. I never seen anybody do the things you do before. They say, move for me, move for me, move for me, eh, eh. And when you're done, I'll make you do it all again. Things you do before. They say, move for me, move for me, move for me, eh, eh. And when you're done, I'll make you do it all again. They say, dance for me, dance for me, dance for me, oh, 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 oh. I never seen anybody do the things you do before. They say, move for me, move for me, move for me, eh, eh. And when you're done, I'll make you do it all.
Such beautiful memories to have. The first tribute this morning comes from his loving soulmate, Kim. And it says, Simon and I started chatting on a dating app just prior to Christmas 2012 and really hit it off with lots of laughs. He asked me out on a date on New Year's Eve. We met on New Year's Eve of 2013 when he came to my house to pick me up to go to the Fourth pub. I was reluctant to go and was making excuses not to, but my son Kieran persuaded me to go and have fun. We had the best night together, just clicked, and it was the beginning of the most wonderful romance and love I could have ever wished for. Simon had two beautiful girls, Chelsea and Abby, who I had the privilege to meet not long after we met, and they had both accepted me as Dad's girlfriend. Throughout the years, I have grown to love them so very much, and am fortunate to consider his girls as my own. Simon also met my little girl Gemma at the same time. He loved her and they had a very special bond. Simon also met my eldest children, Kayla, Kieran and Kyle, to whom he opened his heart, and they found their own bonds. Approximately 4 to 5 months after dating, Simon was becoming quite unwell and discovered his transplant kidney that his father gave him in 1996 had failed and had to be removed. He was 26 years old when he'd had the original transplant. He was then placed on dialysis and had this treatment throughout the remainder of our relationship. Simon was a hard worker and managed a dairy farm. During this time, he employed farm hands to conduct farm duties. This included my son Kyle. They used to get up to all sorts of shenanigans together, and if they weren't laughing about something, Simon would be grumbling about Kyle leaving the gate open when the cows could get out. Simon loved farm work and was very passionate about his work up until approximately 5 years ago, when his health could no longer cope with this work. And it was then decided that he would leave the farm and buy us a house closer to my place of work. He then landed a job working for Tas Stock Feeds as a mill supervisor, doing much less physical work, which was much more sustainable for him. He enjoyed the people, but after some time in the role, it became quite difficult for him to continue due to the deterioration of his health, and consequently had not worked since early this year. Simon and I had a bond that was rare. We knew exactly what each other was thinking, what each other was going to say, and we could finish each other's sentences. He made me laugh every single day with his jokes, his Mr. Bean mannerisms, and setting me up with pranks for his own entertainment. One of those pranks is when I was helping to milk the cows. He'd put a few bulls in the herd, and as I was cupping up along the way, there were suddenly no teats to cup, but instead a big set of bull testicles. It had me baffled for a minute or two. He was standing at the other end of the pit, reeling in laughter. Simon had various passions during our time together, such as golf, repairing or modifying things to make them work, cooking when he craved something they had made on TV that he liked, our garden, laying on the couch watching movies, watching and cracking up laughing at his favourite YouTube videos of Michael McIntyre or Jimmy Carr, enjoying TV shows like The Big Bang Theory, and loving his baby boy cavoodle, Peppy. He turned my sad days into happy days and always made me feel safe and secure. He was my saviour, my strength, and loved me unconditionally as I did him. I will miss so many special moments, our everyday cuddles, our laughs, his quirky dancing, which was hilarious, sitting on me or beside me to scratch his back, our banter about all sorts of things, our competitiveness of who will win or who is right, trying to outdo each other and who would be first when searching for an answer to something, messing up the kitchen when trying out a new recipe, leaving his clothes on the bathroom floor right next to the wash basket, debriefing with him about work after a hard day, and going on adventures. Although our time together was relatively short, my heart will always feel broken, and it's going to be so hard to keep going on in life without him. I will never understand why he was taken away from me so soon. We will all miss him, and he will be leaving a huge void in our lives. I am unsure how I can really express how much I will miss my beautiful man. He was my soulmate, my best friend, and my confidant. You fought the hardest fight in your life, my sweetheart, and it's now time for you to rest in peace. And if there is a heaven, when you get there, get to know my mum and dad and catch up with your pop. I know you will be watching over us. I love you, my mighty Morris. And yes, I love you more. And a tribute from daughter Abby. My father, the mightiest Morris, the man I have forever looked up to, despite his questionable dance moves and Morris's sense of humour. He showed us pure love from the first time he held us against his chest until his last moments. We will be forever grateful for the first life lessons he taught us and the love he showed us, and we know he is watching over us as the brightest star in the sky. Dad was a giver, not a taker. When I fell in the cow's water trough, he didn't blink an eye before taking the shirt off his own back to keep me warm. He gave us so many memories, and we will treasure forever, despite his competitive attributes and unwillingness to let us win without a fair fight, even when we were only 9 and 11 years old, racing him around the front yard on the motorbikes. He treasured us, and he treasured the god-awful homemade gifts we would make him every year for Father's Day, from scraps around the farm. He was the kind of man who would give you the shoes off his own feet, but happily sit in a heated spa while watching us kids dive into the freezing pool during a thunderstorm. He never took the easy way out, spending way too many days with me building a rabbit hutch from scratch and trying to teach me how to kick a football. I still can't. Dad has always been a joker, so much so that when we asked if Santa was real, we then had to confirm with Mum because we could never be sure if he was joking or being true, and he kept us laughing right up through to the end. No one will ever be able to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star as well as my dad, with a gut full of beer and helium. My heart will forever ache for you, Dad, but it brings me comfort to know that you are at peace and pain-free after your tremendous fight to stay with us for a little while longer. I'm proud to be my father's daughter, and I take great pride in looking 90% like you, the strongest, most caring and adoring person I will ever know. I love you, Dad. Rest easy. A second set of photos now to depict these last aspects of his life. Such beautiful memories that you all have to hold forever. As we celebrate Simon's life, we can take satisfaction that he has been and still is and always will be a part of our life. His influence endures in the unending consequences flowing from his character and his deeds. You can shed tears that he has gone, or you can smile because he lived. You can close your eyes and pray that he'll come back. Or you can open your eyes and see all that he has left. Your heart can be empty because you cannot see him. Or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live for yesterday. Or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember him and only that he's gone. Or you can cherish his memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back. Or you can do what he would want you to do. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. It is now time for Simon to take his final journey. But before we do so, would you all please stand for our words of committal? Tenderly and reverently, we commit the body of Simon Barry Morris to the elements and ultimately to Mother Earth, from which all life comes and to which in the end all life returns. Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, grateful for the life that has been lived and for all that life has meant to us. May we remember the depths of his love, the depths of his kindness, and that special way he did indeed touch all our lives. I have no doubt that all of you here are grateful for Simon's life, for the life that has been lived and for what it has meant to you personally. We are glad that he lived. We are glad that he was part of our life. We cherish the memories we have of him, and we know he will never be forgotten. May tender memories soften your grief. May fond recollections bring you relief. And may you find comfort and peace when thinking of Simon. So go forward today with a small flickering of light in your soul. May the memories of Simon begin to bring comfort rather than pain. May the words, touch, and presence of others bring you solace. Thus, thinking of him, let us leave this place in quietness of spirit and live with love and concern for one another, as Simon would want us to do.
Well, it's alright, riding around in the breeze. Well, it's alright, if you live the life you please. Well, it's alright, doing the best you can. Well, it's alright, as long as you lend a hand. You can sit around and wait for the phone to ring.
waiting for someone to tell you everything. Sit around and wonder what tomorrow will bring. Maybe a diamond ring.
Well, it's alright, even if they say you're wrong. Well, it's alright, sometimes you gotta be strong. Well, it's alright, as long as you got somewhere to lay. Well, it's alright, every day is Judgment Day.
Maybe somewhere down the road away, you'll think of me and wonder where I am these days. Maybe somewhere down the road when somebody plays Purple Haze.
Well, it's alright, even when push comes to shove. Well, it's alright, if you got someone to love. Well, it's alright, everything will work out fine. Well, it's alright, we're going to the end of the line.
Don't have to be ashamed of the car I drive. I'm just glad to be here, happy to be alive. And it don't matter if you're by my side, I'm satisfied.
Well, it's all